Let's begin. The fire pit outside still crackled with the embers of laughter and half-burnt marshmallows while the last of our friends filed out with warm goodbyes, arms laden with leftover drinks and foil-covered trays. The moonlight glistened on the lawn chairs arranged just so. Everything perfect, curated as it had been every spring for the past 6 years. But this time, something was off. I couldn't find her. Emma, I called through the kitchen, past the hallway, checking the den. Nothing. Maybe she'd gone to lie down. That was unlike her. Our parties were her stage, her spotlight. Emma thrived on attention, and she never left before the compliments stopped flowing. I moved up the stairs, 2 at a time, each creak of the wood underfoot mirroring the tension in my chest. I pushed open the guest room door and there she was splayed out like a rag doll across the bed. Her dress hiked halfway up her thighs, one stiletto still dangling from her toes. Her hair was a mess, her lipstick smeared and the heavy sand of musky cologne clung to her like fog. But it wasn't mine. On the floor beside her, her phone buzzed. I picked it up instinctively, flipping it over. Then she stirred. Her eyes, glassy and unfocused, cracked halfway open. "It's okay," I said softly, brushing her hair aside. "I'm just helping you to bed." She gave a crooked smile and looped her arm around my neck in a sloppy hug. Clark," she slurred. "You shouldn't be here. What if Lucas finds us?" My heart didn't race. It stopped, just silence. She passed out again, breathing heavily, unaware that in just a single breath, she'd killed a marriage. Clark, that name would live in my bloodstream like poison. I didn't shake her awake. I didn't demand answers or flip the bed in rage. I stood there staring at my wife with a level of detachment I never thought I could feel. After nearly 7 years, that's what it came down to. A name, a moment, a confirmation. I walked out and shut the door, not with a slam, but with a whisper. In that night, the man known as Lucas Everett ceased to be her husband. I sat in the dark living room. The only sound, the slow tick of the wall clock and the occasional creak of the ceiling as Emma snorted above me. The house we had built, designed together brick by brick, felt suddenly foreign, fake. It had been a stage, and I've been cast as the idiot. But not anymore. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I planned. By morning, I had a blueprint. Emma woke up groggy, hungover, barely remembering how she got to bed. "Did the party go late?" she asked, yawning, scratching at her temple. "God, my head is splitting." "You were pretty out of it," I said calmly. "I carried you upstairs." She smiled and kissed my cheek. "You're the best." I didn't answer. I just looked at her. And something deep inside me clicked into place. My love had transformed in a cold, deliberate focus. She had no idea she was kissing a man who had already started orchestrating her downfall. 3 days later, while Emma was out meeting a client over brunch, I was elbowed deep in her digital footprints. You see, I'm not just some clueless husband. I'm a forensic systems analyst. My job is to trace digital trails no one else can find. And my wife had been foolish enough to leave breadcrumbs everywhere. She'd changed his name in her contacts. Used disappearing messages on her private WhatsApp thread. Booked hotel rooms under her company's name. Used Apple's hidden photo album, thinking I'd never look. But she wasn't careful enough because every step she took, every call she made, every dollar she spent from our joint account on her secret life with Clark Morgan, her coworker, left a shadow I could trace. And I did. I printed every hotel receipt, screen captured every thread of flirtatious texts and after-hours calls. I even unearthed audio backups from synced voicemail messages. The crown jewel, a series of Uber receipts with 2 names, hers and his. Headed to boutique hotels she never once mentioned to me. One night before our anniversary, another while I was visiting my sick father, I sat in our home office assembling a 230-page digital portfolio I titled The Exit Blueprint. But this wasn't just for me. It was also for Natalie Morgan, Clark's wife. I found her easily. Her Instagram was public. A realtor and mother of two. I reached out using a private email account attaching just a few screenshots, enough to open the wound, but not enough to scar her children. She replied within hours. Short, direct. You're not alone. Let's meet. And so we did. Twice a week, over coffee, at parks, at co-working spaces. Together, we outline a plan. 2 betrayals, 2 marriages, 1 perfect takedown. Natalie had known something was off, but she'd never had the proof. Now, with my evidence and her resolve, we became co-architects of poetic justice. At home, Emma was oblivious. She still smiled at dinner, still posted curated photos of our date nights for her social media, still slept soundly beside me. She was so convinced of her deception that she didn't realize I'd been watching her unravel in real time. One Thursday morning, I offered her something unexpected. A weekend away, just us. No phones, no work, just quiet. Her face lit up. Really? Really? I booked a mountain cabin outside Asheville. Cozy, secluded, private. What she didn't know was that every room had been outfitted with audio pickups and discrete motion-activated cameras. Not by accident, but by design. The night before we left, I sent a text using a second phone I'd cloned from her backup to Clark Morgan. Lucas will be gone until Sunday. One night, just us, please. The reply came fast. I'll be there. I've missed you. I stared at the screen for a long moment. I almost pitied him. The plan was emotion. And by the time Clark arrived at the cabin, rose wine in hand, grinning like a schoolboy, Emma's expression told me everything I needed to know. She hadn't invited him, but she hadn't told him to stay away either. Her betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, continuous, and now irreversible. I watched it all from the adjacent cabin. The property technically belonged to an old friend from college, a filmmaker who owed me a favor. He had wired the place with discreet surveillance for a shoot years back, and those tools were still intact. I'd merely added a private cloud sync and secured the feed. From a moment Clark's silver Audi pulled up the gravel path I was recording, he stepped out wearing a smug little smile, holding a wine bottle like it was a love letter. I could almost hear the soundtrack of his fantasy playing in his head. Emma answered the door in sweatpants, her hair tied up, her face pale. What are you doing here?" she stammered. Clark chuckled. "What do you mean? You texted me, said Lucas was away. One last night." Her eyes darted around the cabin, panic rising in her throat. "No, Clark. No, this was a mistake." That's when my voice filled the room. Clear, calm. I spoke from a pre-recorded file piped through the built-in ceiling speakers. "Clark, Emma, welcome to the final night you'll ever lie to anyone who trusted you." Emma shrieked. Clark froze. His hand loosened on the wine bottle, and it fell with a dull thud to the carpet. "You're being watched. Everything you say, everything you've done, it's all been recorded. You're not victims. You're authors of your own collapse." I let the silence breathe for a moment. Then I cut the feed. Back in my cabin, I began uploading everything. The footage of them scrambling her old texts, the hotel receipts, the emails with timestamps, the audio from the first betrayal. I sent in batches to Emma's HR, to Clark's firm, to Natalie Morgan, to Emma's sister Amanda, the only one who ever doubted her, to our mutual friends who once said I was too sensitive about her work trips. I even scheduled a final delivery, a secure folder to Emma's inbox with a subject line, "You know what you did." Clark left the cabin that night in silence. No hugs, no parting kisses, just a grown man, shoulders hunched, walking away from the fantasy he'd built on stolen hours. Emma followed me back 2 days later in a separate car. I didn't say a word the entire drive. She cried, begged, denied, and when she reached for my hand on the gear shift, I pulled it away. "Lucas, please, Let's talk about this. I can explain. No, Emma, I've already listened to everything I need. The fallout came fast. Clark's firm terminated him with costs. They found the gift receipts, the expense reports labeled consultation, and even an inappropriate video call logged during office hours. Natalie didn't even flinch. She served him divorce papers on a Sunday morning while their kids were at her sister's house. You can come pick up your things tomorrow. Don't come tonight, Emma. Oh, Emma tried to spin it. She called her boss, claimed I was controlling, that I'd manufacture the evidence, but the emails were real. The screenshots timestamped the video undeniable. Her company encouraged her resignation before the board had to vote. Our mutual friends didn't rush to defend her. The ones who once complimented her on being so charming, now quietly backed away. When she received the final file, the one labeled the goodbye, she didn't respond because inside it, among other things, was a screenshot. The first betrayal, her muttering Clark in our bed in her sleep at our own party. She never denied it because she couldn't. Our divorce was swift, not because it was simple, but because Emma didn't have the will left to fight. When I served her with the papers, she didn't argue. She looked up from the stack of legal documents and whispered, "You really meant all of this, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The clause that protected my assets, the prenup she once joked about. You think I'd ever betray you was now the very paper cutting her from everything. I got the house. I kept my firm. I retained full ownership of the investment account she'd once dipped into for business trips. She walked away with just enough to rent a modest apartment in a zip code she used to call trashy. Her fall was quiet but thorough. She tried damage control. She sent texts to my friends spinning tales of emotional neglect, half-truths twisted into self-pity. But they had the receipts literally. I'd sent them all a letter, a personal one weeks before. Calm, measured, backed with facts. This isn't a smear campaign. I wrote it's the truth. You can believe it or not, but I won't argue with you. That one message was enough. People began unfollowing her, blocking her number. Her best friend Brittany ghosted her. Her sister Amanda, she called me and said, "I always knew something didn't sit right." Meanwhile, I rebuilt brick by brick. I started with the smallest things. Waking up early for no reason. Making coffee the way I liked it. No almond milk nonsense. Going for a jog around the lake without checking my phone every 5 minutes. Therapy helped, too. Not the cliched tissue box kind, but real got honest work. Learning that I didn't fail, that I didn't miss signs because I was blind, but because I was good, because I trusted, because I believed in the people I loved. One afternoon, I came across an old photo of Emma and me at a vineyard. Smiling with glasses raised, looking like the golden couple. I stare at that photo for a long time, not with anger, but with curiosity. How much of that smile was real? Was she happy or just pretending? I'll never know. Weeks turned into months. My name stopped being attached to hers. The whispers died down and slowly peace returned. One evening while attending a fundraiser for my company's scholarship foundation, I met Lena. She was a nurse, smart, grounded, sarcastic in the best way. She didn't play games. No hidden motives, just realness. We didn't jump into anything. We met for walks, share meals, talked about everything. She told me about her last relationship, how it ended with betrayal. I told her mine, the whole brutal truth. When I finished, she looked at me and said something I didn't expect. She didn't break you, Lucas. She just revealed who you never need to be again. Emma emailed once, just one time. I saw you with her. You look different, happier. I hope it's real. I didn't respond because Lena once said, the real power isn't in the response. It's a not needing to say anything at all. And she was right. I never expected revenge to be quiet. But that's exactly how it felt. Not fireworks, not public humiliation, not some grand explosion, just silence. The kind that settles after a storm when the world feels oddly still. I saw Emma one last time. It was during mediation where she sat across the table. Thin, pale, drained of the sparkle she once wore like armor. Her lawyer spoke for her. She never raised her voice, never raised her eyes. When it was over, I stood, placed a manila envelope on the table, and turned to leave. Inside the envelope, a single screenshot. The moment it all began, her drunk sprawled in our guest bed, whispering, "Clark, my husband might catch us." She never opened it. She didn't need to. That night, I drove home in the rain. Not because the weather mattered, but because for the first time in over a year, I didn't feel cold. I turned on music that I liked, ordered takeout from a place she hated, let my shoes muddy the carpet. I let go of the version of me that clung to being the perfect husband, the silent fixer, the forgiver. Lucas Everett was no longer a man trying to be enough for someone who never chose him. He was just Lucas, and that was finally enough. As for Clark Morgan, last I heard, he was working freelance. His LinkedIn quietly removed his title. His company scrubbed his name from their public website. Natalie had finalized a divorce and sold their house. She moved with her boys closer to her parents. I reached out once, not a gloat, just to thank her. "Thank you for believing me," I wrote. She replied, "You didn't need me to believe you. The truth did all the work. Lena and I were still figuring things out. We've both been through fires. Both carry scars, but we don't hide them. We talk, we listen, we walk hand in hand. Not because we're perfect, but because we choose to show up real." And sometimes when I'm brushing my teeth or looking out the window with my coffee, I think back to that moment. The slurred whisper, the name that wasn't mine. It should have destroyed me, but it didn't. It woke me up. They say revenge is best served cold. But I disagree. The best revenge is indifference. It's showing them they burned down the house and you didn't just walk away. You built something better. You smiled. You healed. And you left the ashes behind. If you've ever been betrayed, remember this. Don't rage. Don't beg. Gather the truth. Build your plan. Let the silence speak. And when the time comes, walk away with your head high. Because real strength doesn't scream. It whispers, "I survived."